How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Podcast, the show where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. We kick off our Week 5 coverage tonight, taking a look at the Bears' Week 5 opponents, the Las Vegas Raiders. The 3-1 Raiders will play host to the 2-2 Bears this weekend. We're going to be breaking it all down for you guys. So let's get right into it. But before I introduce myself and my co-host, I would like to say we're putting out the most comprehensive Bears coverage on the web the entire regular season. So if you want Bears content each and every day, we're going to be bringing it back to you guys every single day. So do us a favor, if you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, drop a like, subscribe, follow, and we're going to keep bringing the content back to you all. I'm your host, Chris and today we talk about the Las Vegas Raiders in a new episode of Meet the Opponents. I am joined with my co-host, Jaylen McClinton. Jaylen, you head to the land of the 4-0 Arizona Cardinals today. You're heading out of town, going to some nicer weather down there in Arizona. But otherwise, how have you been doing, my man?
I've been doing good. It's my birthday weekend. Last time we played a game right before my birthday. It was the Buccaneers weekend. Had a nice day after, especially getting the Bears win. So hopefully it's the same. My birthday's on Saturday, so hopefully I get a Bears win the day after. But other than that, just enjoying life. I guess can't be upset about it at all.
Yeah, the Bears will have an opportunity this weekend to actually get a revenge game against the Raiders. That being said, Khalil Mack get a revenge game against the Raiders. We all know what happened when the Bears headed across the pond to London a couple of years ago and played them. But a big week nonetheless. Justin Fields named the Bears starter, and we've got a lot to break down today for sure. The Raiders looking pretty good, even though they lost a couple of nights ago to the Los Angeles Chargers. Before we get into this episode, we quickly have a sponsored message from one of our two regular season sponsors during the 2021-2022 season. So let's get to this message quickly over from our partners at CBDX. Guys, CBDX.com is not your average CBD company. We've all tried CBD. None of it is like the real deal, but CBDX is. And they also ship right to your front door. Right now, Bear Down listeners get 20% off their orders at CBDX.com with promo code BD. They make delicious gummies, amazing flour, and tremendous cartridges. All products look, smell, taste, and feel the same, and they actually work. CBDX.com is the future. CBDX loves football, and that's why they are here. Show them some love and support the show. Get 20% off. Also, a free bonus gift when our listeners use promo code BD at CBDX.com. CBDX, thank you so much for sponsoring the entire season. Let's get right back into this episode, taking a look at the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, Jaylen, let's jump right into this. Taking a look at the Raiders today, the 3-1 Raiders will play host to the 2-2 Bears on October 10th, 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff at the Death Star Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The Raiders have a 62.3% chance to win this one, leaving the Bears with a 37.4% chance. Taking a look at the pick center from ESPN, the Raiders are favored by 5.5 points in this one with an over-under at 44. Jaylen, let's take a look at the Raiders offense to start this one. They are currently scoring 26 points per game, putting up 430.3 yards per game. Derek Carr, what the start to the season for him. Up until this last week, I would say he was in the MVP discussion with guys like Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert. He's averaging 349.8 passing yards per game, but the Raiders offense hasn't really been getting the run game going with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. They've both been a little bit banged up. They're averaging 80.5 rushing yards per game. Taking a look at the rest of this offense, man, it is going to be a problem. I already mentioned Carr, Josh Jacobs, and Kenyon Drake combined to make a pretty good tandem there at running back. Taking a look at their wide receivers, oh my, Henry Ruggs leads the way. He's had quite the season so far, catching a couple of long bombs for some touchdowns, as well as Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow. They've also got some pretty solid depth with Zay Jones and Willie Snead down the depth chart. Darren Waller, man, he has been a problem for every NFL defense he has faced so far, and he is going to be quite the problem for the Bears as well. Taking a look at their offensive line, Colton Miller leads the way as well as Jordan Simmons, Andre James, Jermaine Ulamuner, and the rookie out of Alabama, Alex Weatherwood. So, Jaylen, we've seen a pretty good start to the season so far for this Raiders offense. Obviously, they've been looking for Derek Carr to prove to them that he deserves that extension, and he's had quite the start to the season so far. So overall, taking a look at this Raiders unit offensively, they've only had one loss so far to a pretty good Chargers team that has also beaten the Kansas City Chiefs. So what do you think about this Raiders offense through the first month of the season?
Explosive. They have I think two primetime games. I watched their game against that crazy game against the Ravens week one. Uh, Absolutely. I think they were down 14. I think they were down like 14 points. Ended
Yeah,
up coming back and winning that game in overtime. That was probably like the best primetime game of week one. Like the way Derek Carr played, he was absolutely airing the ball out, connecting on a lot of deep shots to Henry Ruggs, was throwing dots to Brian Edwards, and obviously once Darren Waller, started to get it going, he was absolutely dominating the Ravens linebackers, and he's been doing that the last couple seasons ever since he's really got an opportunity to play with the Raiders, and he's definitely going to be a scary matchup for me, but the way our defense has been playing, but the this passing game is definitely scary. They have a lot of speed. Obviously, Henry Ruggs, one of the faster wide receivers in the league. With a quarterback like Derek Carr who can connect on the deep throws, as well as a nice route runner in Hunter Renfrow, who's going to pick up those first downs on third and mid, third and long, stuff like that. So this is definitely a scary offense, especially if you don't get any pressure. If you don't play good defense, if it's lapses in your coverages like we've had in a couple times this season, it could definitely get scary very early.
yeah, the Bears defense is going to have to put some pressure on Derek Carr. We saw
Yeah,
Joey Bosa and the Chargers do a very good job at that last week, and they were able to shut down him for the most part, and get themselves into the second half and put themselves in a spot where all they had to do is play well offensively to win the game. But man, you described it perfectly. This Raiders offense is definitely an explosive unit, and they have a lot of sneaky good pieces. I mean, Carr's 109 for 170, 1,400 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for him. They haven't really gotten the rushing game going. I mean, their leading rusher so far is Peyton Barber, but Henry Ruggs has had quite the solid second year. A lot of people were looking for him to prove that he is ready for this role as a wide receiver one. 14 receptions, 297 receiving yards, and a touchdown for him. He's been taking the top off of opposing defenses. So, the Bears have played pretty good defensively so far this season. They've only allowed 268.3 passing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. That's a lot of yards, I understand, but still pretty good in comparison to league averages. They've also allowed 112 rushing yards per game. If they can continue to be stout against the run, I'm confident that they'll be able to get the pressure on Carr. Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack have started off having a pretty good season. But, with all the weapons this Raiders offense has, it's going to be tough. Darren Waller is going to be a problem against absolutely anyone you put him against. And I think Hunter Renfro's low-key one of the sneaky better slot receivers in the league. He's someone who's only been in the league for a short time so far. A lot of comparisons he draws are to Cooper Kupp. He's someone who has mastered the China route so far, a route that's pretty new. And not many teams run with their slot receivers. We saw the Bears secondary struggle against Kupp in week one. I think it's going to be another tough day covering Renfro in week 5. So overall, this Raiders offense brings a lot to the table, and you also can't forget about that run game they have, because if they get it going, it can be really solid. Josh Jacobs is a very solid running back in this league, and it's going to be a tough one regardless. So the Bears are underdogs in this one for a reason. Let's move to the Raiders. They run a base 4-3 defense. They've got some dogs up front for sure. Max Crosby only continuing to improve since he entered the league. He is alongside Quentin Jefferson and Jonathan Hankins there at the nose tackle positions. They also have Yannick Ngakoue, obviously former Viking for a little bit, as well as Raven, but he is known for that time he spent with the Jacksonville Jaguars on defense there. They've got some pretty good linebackers, Corey Littleton, Denzel Perryman, and KJ Wright, formerly with that Legion of Boom and the Seattle Seahawks. But their secondary is banged up, which can help the Bears for sure. Their rookie Nate Hobbs went down a couple of days ago in that game. Trayvon Mullen also went down for them, as well as Damon Arnetti. So they were really depending on Amik Roberson and other guys to be able to step up. And those guys are banged up, and we could possibly see a couple of them miss this game against the Bears. Justin Fields, obviously the starter. Darnell Mooney coming off a week where he was the second best wide receiver in the league per Pro Football Focus. And the Bears also have to look to get Allen Robinson involved if the Raiders are missing some of their key pieces there. Robinson could really have a height advantage like Mike Williams did last week. The Chargers didn't take advantage of it, but Mike Williams definitely did, and Allen Robinson definitely would have a height advantage on Amik Robertson. So, Jaylen, we saw last week, we saw this Raiders defense struggle for sure. Obviously, they were going up against Justin Herbert and a really strong offense. But we've seen them allow 27-plus points in 2 of their games prior to this one, in OT win against the Miami Dolphins, as well as that week 1 matchup, that 33-27 win they had over Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. So overall, there's a lot of familiar names on this Raiders defense, and they've been a pretty solid unit so far to start the season. What do you think about them so far through the first month of the season?
I definitely think this is the weakness. Obviously, I think their offense is way better than their defenses. Like you said, they've allowed 27 plus points. Um, three out of their 4 games. The least amount was 17 against the struggling.
Yeah. To look at it exactly, they're allowing. I actually probably should have said these already. They're allowing 25 points per game total, 374 yards, 241.8 through the air, almost 135 on the ground.
So I definitely feel like, especially I know we were playing the Lions, and the Lions don't have a very good defense, but if I definitely feel like this is a timing point where you can exploit this side of the ball. Like you said, they have a very strong front seven. Max Crosby, who's a very underrated pass rusher. Yannick Ngakoue, who's a Pro Bowl type of edge rushers. So with Clinton Farrell and a lot of other guys on that defensive line, solid linebackers with Corey Littleton and KJ Wright and stuff like that. So if we're able to, I wouldn't say abuse, but target their secondary, who, like you said, is very hurt. I think they lost like 3 corners last game. When I was counting, I seen like 3 of their DBs go down with injuries. So, like you said, it's a better defense than it's been before in the last couple seasons. I know they haven't been a very good defense, haven't been able to get any type of pressure, not really any cause really any turnovers. It's obviously been better this season, but still a middle of a pack defense. Then I think with if you put pressure on their secondary and able to get the ball out quick, I definitely think you can score on them.
Yeah, we saw Justin Herbert have a really good week against them last year, or last week, excuse me. And a lot of comparisons now are between Justin Herbert and Justin Fields, only because they're entering the game their rookie years in the same way. We saw Tyrod Taylor go down for the Chargers last year with an injury, and now we see Andy Dalton go down with an injury, and the job is eventually handed over to Justin Fields. It'd be nice if Justin Fields could play like Justin Herbert did last week. He was 25 for 38, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, all of which 2 of which I believe were in the first half. I'm not sure about that third one, but he had quite the game against them. 107.6 passer rating for him. So yeah, Jaylen, you hit it on the head. I think the Bears have to go at this secondary as much as they can if they want a shot in this one. Really solid front 7 for the Raiders. I like how Denzel Perriman has played so far to start this season, alongside the other 2 linebackers they have there with Littleton and Wright. So overall, a really good front 7 for this Raiders team. I think the Bears offensive line could definitely struggle in this one. Not saying Justin Fields is going to get sacked 9 times this time around, but really solid depth there for them too. Carl Nassib, Darius Philon, Solomon Thomas, as well as Cleveland Farrell. Overall, I think it's going to be a little bit rougher going in this one for the Bears offense, but I am glad nonetheless that they threw Justin Fields out there, because I think he gives them a better chance to win. He'll be able to get the run pass option going in this one, hopefully open up the play action pass. A lot falls on Damien Williams in this game and how he'll be able to rush the ball. Obviously, he played the Raiders a lot back in the day when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs just a couple of years ago. So if the Bears can get the run game going in this one, I'm not entirely confident that they'll be able to, but I do have a decent bit of trust in Damien Williams, just because he is someone who's played well in the playoffs, Super Bowl champion, and has had some success in this league. So if the Bears can get the run game going in this one, which opponents have been able to do decently well against the Raiders, once again, they're allowing almost 135 rushing yards per game to opposing teams. We could see Justin Fields get the RPO going, keep the defense reliable on him because he can scramble and get outside the pocket. Overall, I think the Bears offense will have some struggles in this one. Obviously, there's still going to be growing pains there with Justin Fields at the quarterback position just because he's a rookie. But overall, I think the Bears will be able to hopefully compete in this one and attack that secondary. Look to get Allen Robinson going in this one, regardless of who's guarding him, whether that be Damon Arnett, who has struggled, and the Raiders look to even trade back during this offseason, or Amik Roberson. It should be an interesting one. but I think the Bears can get something going in this week 5 matchup offensively. Jaylen, before we head out here, I mean, obviously, a lot of respect to the Raiders' offense and defense in this one. It's going to be a tough task for the Bears. The Raiders are one of the better teams in this league so far and just dropped their first game of the season to a Chargers team that is looking really, really good. But overall, taking a look at how they've played so far this season and taking a look at how the Bears have played these last couple of weeks with Justin Fields now solidified as the quarterback one, do you think the Bears can be competitive in this Week 5 matchup?
Especially after finding out that Justin's going to be the starter for the rest of the year. I definitely feel like we can be competitive, especially with the injuries in their secondary and seeing how Justin was able to stretch the ball down the field last week against the Lions. I definitely feel like we can be competitive. It sucks not having David because they are giving up a lot of rushing yards. But like you said, I think if Damien plays, which I think he will, I think he can. Obviously, I don't think he's going to replace the production that David's been giving us over the last year and a half. But I definitely feel like he can get 60, 70 yards on however many carries. But like I said, with Justin's ability to stretch the ball down the field and his playmaking ability with his legs and stuff like that, and how well our defense has been playing, I definitely feel like we can be competitive in this game for sure.
Yeah, this Bears defense has been pretty stout against all their opponents, minus the Rams. And, this Raiders offense might be the second best offense that the Bears are facing outside of the Rams. So I'm a little worried about that, but I really haven't been worried about the Bears defense so far this season. Their front seven has been doing their job.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson, currently the third best corner in the league per Pro Football Focus. So I trust that the Bears defense will come out here and put up a solid performance. I feel like all these games normally come down to what can the Bears offense succeed. But as you mentioned, it would be nice to get the run game going. That's actually one of the front seven of the Raiders. That's one of their weaknesses. So if we can get Damien Williams going, I'd like to see Khalil Herbert get some solid snaps as well. He looks really good in the preseason as well as during training camp. So continuing to get him involved is going to be important. The Bears brought in Jakeem Grant, former second-team All-Pro, to be the return man, probably for punt and kickoff returns, for that reason, to get Herbert going. So overall, getting the run game going would be really nice. I do believe Justin Fields is someone who isn't scared to take those deep shots. I think the Bears wide receivers will be able to win their one-on-one matchups this week. Someone specifically like Darnell Mooney, it would be really nice to see the Bears get someone like Allen Robinson going, continuing to use that speed on the outside. We haven't seen Marquise Goodwin do something for a couple of weeks. I did correct myself and pronounce his name right. I know you guys bash me in the comments for that. We haven't seen much out of Damiere Byrd, but getting someone like Robinson going in this game, it's an ideal opportunity to do that, especially if the Raiders secondary is banged up. But overall, I have a lot of trust in Justin Fields that we'll be able to extend offensively vertically down the field in this one. He'll continue to have a pretty good looking throw chart as the games end because he likes to take a lot of deep shots and throws his receivers open, extend plays, does his whole Russell Wilson magic thing. Overall, I have a lot of trust in Justin Fields, and I do believe that we'll be able to be competitive in this one. The Bears have a tough stretch of games moving forward. Obviously, this Raiders game, Packers, Buccaneers, 49ers, and then the Steelers. So hopefully they can be competitive in this one and give themselves a chance to win. I think this is definitely a winnable game if the defense can show up and the offense can have a repeat performance like last week and look pretty solid and continue to attack a weaker Raiders secondary. They're going to have to be competitive against the 49ers as well as a beatable Steelers team, because these weeks against the guys like the Packers and guys like the Bucs are going to be tough ones. So the Bears have to take the advantage when they can in some of these weeks. But thank you so much for tuning into our Week 5 installment of Meet the Opponents. Let us know down in the comments if you're listening in on YouTube what you think of the Las Vegas Raiders so far. They've had quite the start to the season there in a tough AFC West. Before you go, if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe, follow, wherever you may be listening. We're going to bring you guys Bears content every day of the week. If you want more content from us, head to our website. The link is down in the description, beardown.com. We're posting columns, articles, and blogs to get you guys ready for the Bears Week 5 matchup with the Raiders. Should be a fun one in that 4 o'clock kind of primetime spot. If you'd like to find the podcast on Instagram or Twitter, you can find us on both platforms at Bear Down. We're going to be giving away a Justin Fields jersey in the month of October on our social media pages. So be sure to go check us out. It's just another great way to interact with us and let us know what you want to see here on the show. And finally, you can find the links to our social media pages down in the description, our Instagram and Twitter pages. It's another great way to interact with us, and you can see our thoughts on all things Bears, the entirety of the National Football League, and Chicago sports. Jalen McClinton, a lot going on right now in Chicago sports. Bulls looked good in the preseason yesterday. The Sky, got to give them another shout out. 1 game away from the WNBA Finals. White Sox starting the playoff run soon. The Blackhawks looking pretty good to start the season under Marc-Andre Fleury. Any last words before we sign off here?
I don't know why my camera kept shutting off, so I apologize for that. But like you said, Chicago sports has been fun. I know it was preseason yesterday, but I haven't, been that excited to watch a Bulls game.
Man, that was fun.
A preseason game at that, and forever. I tweeted on Twitter. I was watching us win 22 games 2 years in a row was totally worth it. For this to be the end game. No matter if we get bounced out the first round, I just want to see some Bulls in the playoffs. Obviously, like you said, the White Sox, they start their first game of the playoffs tomorrow. I don't think I'm gonna be able to watch it because I will be out of town. But Justin's name started it's been a good couple of days in Chicago when it comes to sports. I can't be more excited. Other than that, bear down. That's about it. Stay safe.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately, I guess at this time, a Chicago Cubs fan. Obviously, we got our title back in 2016, 2017 after 108 years. I guess that's the only team in Chicago that's not clicking right now, but I'll gladly still root for the White Sox. You never want the Astros to win, so definitely will be tailing the White Sox there. A lot going on in Chicago right now, but the headline of it all is definitely Justin Fields becoming the Bears starter. We'll see if he can march into Allegiant Stadium, the Death Star in Oakland, and lead the Bears to a Week 5 upset. Definitely would be a fun story if the Bears can go down there and get a win. We're going to be covering the game all week, though, so be sure to stay tuned. It's been a pleasure to be your host once again. My name is Chris Malpe, and Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one.